Well, what a night for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And of course, they win. The teams that matter lost. We're talking about it right now in about 30 seconds. Don't go anywhere. Happy days. Welcome into Studio K right here at PHNX HQ, presented by our friends at Circle K. Arizona Diamondbacks win 2 in a row against the Milwaukee Brewers, taking tonight's game by a score of 7-4. Of course, a big ski to you all. Happy Friday night. My name is Derek Montia, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX. This man next to me is your thunderstick, the one and only Jesse Friedman. Of course, we got Damon Dog on the ones and twos, and a really good night for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Of course, the PHNX Diamondbacks podcast is brought to you by our friends at Bet365. Go download the Bet365 app right now. Use that code of PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it is never ordinary at Bet365. And of course, the Diamondbacks win this one. They improved to 86-68, which that's a fun record, 86-68. And they hit a lot of home runs this season. In fact, the 2 that they hit tonight contributed to home runs number 199 and 200 on the season for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And of course, the offense was a big reason why they were able to win tonight's game.
It really was. Yeah. I mean, just another day for the D-backs offense, really. Correct. I mean, 7 runs is basically what they've averaged since the All-Star break. So we really shouldn't be surprised by this at all, I guess. Zac Gallen, not a great day for him. Kind of more of the same of what we've seen recently, where he was able to put up some zeros, but he also threw a lot of pitches. And of course, the Brewers really got to him in that 5th inning with 3 home runs. But the bullpen was very, very good for the Diamondbacks in this game. AJ Puck threw one of the most dominant innings I've ever seen a Diamondbacks reliever throw in the bottom of the 9th inning. The game should have ended 1 pitch sooner than it did because I have no idea how the home plate umpire missed that call. But all the way around, this was a huge win for the Diamondbacks. I mean, it feels like the bigger news today, more so than the Diamondbacks winning, is that both the Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets lost, something that has felt completely impossible. That both of those teams could possibly lose on the same day.
On the same day that the Diamondbacks win, more importantly, because it has been hard to make up ground in that wild card race. And of course, we are going to talk about that and so much more here on tonight's episode. But of course, the first thing we do have to talk about is the offense staying hot. And that's the big key here in this one, is we know that this year the Diamondbacks have done what they have done through their offense. That has been the majority of the reason why this team is able to have an 86-68 record at this point. You can tell that by looking at the team ERA for this season. This pitching staff has been very good at times, but just not good consistently. And that's maybe one thing they got. I mean, Zac Gallen was not very good tonight. He was good until he wasn't, and we'll talk about him pretty much. But Ketel Marte got the offense going with a first inning solo home run, his 33rd of the season. I believe that's a career high.
It is
for Ketel Marte. And again, it feels so good to have Marte back and doing this. Like we've seen him be a little frustrated over the last 10 days or so at times at the plate. Still felt like he was getting his rhythm back, but lately it really feels like that. Tonight he was 1 triple shy of the cycle.
Yeah, a big game for Ketel. It's been a little bit slow for him overall, at least by his standards, of course, since he came off the injured list. We've seen we've seen glimpses of the Ketel before he got hurt at times. We saw him hit a home run, of course, in Coors Field. We also saw him homer against the Texas Rangers, had a really big game in that series, but he hasn't been consistently the same guy. And to see him go out and, as you said, a triple shy of the cycle, 3 hits in this game is obviously big. And 33 home runs. I mean, that is a big number for Ketel Marte. He had 32 back in 2019, but it is well documented the baseball in 2019 was a little bit different than the baseball most years. I'm pretty sure I could have hit a few home runs in 2019. So
absolutely no way.
Yeah, I definitely could not have. But so what I'm trying to say is that 33 home runs in 2024 means a lot more to me than 32 home runs in 2019.
That's a good point.
This is a sign that Ketel Marte, once again, this season is the best season that he's ever had.
Yeah, and he might not be an MVP candidate technically anymore, and obviously
he's not going to win, but he still will get top 5 votes pretty much for sure.
And if you look over at what Shohei Ohtani did, I mean, he wasn't going to. There's no way that anybody's going to win it in the National League over that man, and you can tell based on how he completely hijacked MLB's entire website for a day. Or you would think that, like Damon said, that their Instagram was actually being ran by the Dodgers, which I think it might have been. But anyway, we don't care about them. We're not worried about them. We're worried about these guys. Of course, Ketel isn't the only one that is back. Lourdes is actually back. Started today, returned from the 10-day IL. He got a single on his first AB in the second inning. And then he came up to lead off the 6th, and he hit a leadoff home run that gave the Diamondbacks a very important run there, because at the time the game that was pretty well in hand at one point was tied at 4-4, and Lourdes, of course, broke it open there with that home run. But again, it's just good to have Lourdes back. It was good to see not only Lourdes just contribute offensively like the way he did today, coming back and being a huge contributor in this game, right? But it was also just good to see like Torrey have the flexibility with his full lineup back today, like pinch hitting Randall Grichuk there late, pulling guys out, bringing Jake McCarthy in to take over in center field late in the game, and then seeing Jake make an amazing catch that I'm not 100% sure anybody else that would have been playing center field, no knock to Corbin Carroll, would have been able to make. It's just Jake is very good at that, and he made an incredible catch there late in the game. But, I mean, it's great to see pretty much, I mean, it is the full position player lineup back now.
Yeah, it is. And we haven't seen much of that this season, right? Where at least offensively, the Diamondbacks are completely whole at this point.
It's wild that it's coming together now, too, like right before the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, perfect timing, right? And obviously, Luis Guillorme had some good moments for the Diamondbacks. He managed to get on base at a decent clip. He drew a lot of walks. He was outstanding defensively. But bringing Gurriel back in, the bench that the Diamondbacks have at this point is probably one of the best in all of baseball, frankly. I mean, Kevin Newman being your backup infielder, he's a pretty good hitter against lefties, especially, he can play defense pretty well at any infield position. We even have seen him play in the outfield at times. Pavin Smith with what he's doing offensively right now. He started today. We might see him on the bench at times. Obviously, Randall Grichuk is about as ideal of a bench player as you could possibly imagine. And then Josh Bell, who didn't even get in this game and has not gotten in a lot of games recently for the D-backs, is still a really nice option. Allows the D-backs to be pretty aggressive with pinch hitting Randall Grichuk maybe early in the game because that you have Josh Bell still waiting in the wings that you can go to later on. So, this team offensively is at full strength, and you saw today kind of what that can mean.
Well, Grichuk entered the game to pitch hit for Jock Peterson, again, the best DH combo in all of baseball. And he ends up walking.
I guess in terms of tandem situations, it is the best. It's not quite Ohtani.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But you get what I'm saying. But of course, he had an amazing at bat to walk in a run there in the. I think it was in the the 6th inning.
I believe that was the 6th. Yeah,
and that's what made it 7-4. And of course, again, it's just that flexibility, that versatility. Now that the whole lineup is back, so. And of course, the home runs by Ketel and Lourdes weren't the only offense. This team peppered in offense all night long. Perdomo had an RBI single there. I think that was in the 2nd inning as well, after Lourdes got on base with his first at bat. And then Corbin Carroll added a sac fly in the inning that gave the Diamondbacks their 3rd run. And there was just offense like that. Diamondbacks would load the bases there in the 6th inning. Carroll would bring in a run with an RBI sac fly to make it 6-4. And then Randall walked in a run. So just a great night offensively for this team. And not even a night where they did a lot. They didn't have necessarily
it was
that
normal.
big inning. They just kind of had those runs where they peppered it in. They got a couple of home runs. And it was just a good night for this team.
It really was, yeah. And I think back to what you mentioned earlier with Lourdes Gurriel. coming back and that home run that he hit, that was probably the biggest momentum swing in this entire game. Zac Gallen had a really, really rough fifth inning, gave up 4 runs, 3 homers. It felt like the Diamondbacks went from up 4-0 to a tie game in basically the blink of an eye. And then suddenly, almost immediately in the top half of that 6th inning, Lourdes Gurriel gets a run back, gets the Diamondbacks their lead back, and it set the table for what was a much bigger inning. So he looked good. I mean, Gurriel, it looked like his timing was pretty solid. I mean, the pitch that he hit out was a slider that was down and away. Yeah, again, getting him back, just the depth that this team has offensively is really impressive.
Meanwhile, Zach Cade Richards in the chat says, I think you have to give credit to the Brewers offense rather than blame Zach. The Brewers are no scrubs. You're absolutely correct about that. It was just Zach was kind of cruising until the 5th inning when everything kind of fell apart for him, right?
I don't know if I would use the word cruising. It felt like Zach was kind of laboring through this one.
Yeah, he threw a lot of pitches.
26 pitches, something like that in the 1st inning. And he had some innings that were quicker after that. But yeah, this wasn't smooth sailing for Zac Gallen. It felt like his feel for some of his pitches just wasn't really there. He leaned very heavily on his fastball, and his velo was up, so he was maybe able to get away from some things there, or with some things there, but still not. I didn't think Zac Gallen looked all that great. And once again, you see him, not able to pitch into the 6th inning, which continues to be a bit of a trend.
Which it kind of sucks because you thought, we had 2 very, very good performances from starting pitchers in a row.
Yeah.
And with
you're kind of used to it at this point.
Well, not used to it. You were like, you think here comes Zach. We know that Brent Strom discussed some things that they were going to handle internally that sounded like it was a pitching staff issue and not just one person. And then you see, again, Erod and Pfaadt shove in back-to-back days and accumulate 23 strikeouts in those 2 games. So, again, you felt good about Zach coming in here. But Cade is right. The Brewers' offense is very good. Zach just, I think, got to a point where, they'd seen him so many times in a row up to that point, and his stuff wasn't very good today. But he was getting through, the lineup. Okay. And then everything just kind of fell apart for him in 1 inning. It wasn't like Zach was really getting blasted, throughout the game. He kind of had another short outing. And I think that's the bigger concern is guys like Gallen, not being able to give the Diamondbacks an actual quality outing, just that bare minimum of 5 innings pitched. And in today's case, not really getting through without getting, as Tori would say, scuffed up there in the 5th.
Yeah. A couple other notes on Zach. I'm gonna get a little bit nerdy here in typical me fashion. Gallen's chase rate was 18% in this game, which is very low. His season average is right around 30% coming into this game. 18% is his 2nd lowest mark in any start this season. So basically, Brewers hitters were making very, very good swing decisions against him. A lot of the pitches that he did throw out of the zone were not particularly enticing. And yes, I think the Brewers do get some credit for that, laying off some tough pitches. But some of those breaking balls, I think, just missed by a little bit too much. There were some yanked fastballs that that's kind of been a trend here for a while with him as well. The other thing with Gallen is that he throws his slider. And I don't necessarily think that Gallen should never throw his slider, but I think it's pretty clearly probably his 4th best pitch. I mean, the 4-seam, the curveball, the changeup, those are really his bread and butter offerings. And I think when Brent Strom makes comments like he did to me the other day about Gallen being a prisoner of his own success in some ways, and that he has so many different weapons to use that sometimes he can try to use all of them rather than just sort of going with what works best and maybe what the moment calls for, at least in Strom's mind. And if you look at the results on those sliders today, so he threw 11 sliders. There were 2 swinging strikes, which is obviously good. There were 4 balls, so pitches that were out of the zone that Brewers hitters laid off. And then there were 5 sliders that were put in play. And the results on those sliders, Derek, we had a Jackson Chourio single that was 105 off the bat, a Jackson Chourio flyout that was only 86 off the bat, although it was right down the middle if you look at where that pitch was. There was a William Contreras 96 mile per hour single, a Jackson Chourio 91 mile per hour single, And then William Contreras' big 2-run homer also came on a slider. So that's 5 balls in play on just that pitch, and the results were not good at all. I continue to wonder if maybe Gallen should kind of stick to the weapons that work best. And he chose to go with a little bit more of a variety in this one.
As some are pointing out in the chat, it felt like he couldn't land the knuckle curve in the zone.
Yeah.
Which at times when that pitch is working, that's usually a very effective pitch to go.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And the fastball, right? But it's interesting. Is it a case where Zach's trying to get it to work? Like he's continuing to throw it? Like, yes, it's not working, but he feels like it's gonna like he's gonna get a feel for it as the game goes on. And we have seen that out of Zach, where you kind of get you kind of see him get better as the game progresses.
Yeah, it just seemed like his feel for the curveball wasn't as sharp as we're used to seeing. I do think people are making a good point that if almost all of them that you throw are in the dirt, then that allows hitters to eliminate it a little bit more easily. Yeah. The changeup also, we're used to seeing him get a lot of chase on the changeup, and that didn't happen in this game either. Again, a lot of those pitches were just way too far out of the zone to really be enticing. So it wasn't a good day for Gallen. But again, he came in with a 1.69 ERA in his last 3 starts. And even though he's not pitching super deep into games, and you'd like to see that at some point, he's still more or less keeping the Diamondbacks in games, giving them a chance to win. And with how good this offense has been and was today, giving up 4 runs in 5 innings, this team can still win a lot of games with an outing like that.
Well, who's been very, very good is the bullpen, and the Diamondbacks needed them to be today. And man, components of this bullpen, meaning AJ Puk, just filthy. But the bullpen combined for a very good outing today. Our guy T-Time, Ryan Thompson, was extremely good today. 1 inning pitched, nothing allowed. Kevin Ginkel looked a little bit shaky when he came in relief of Zac Gallen, but he got a massive strikeout to end the inning, and he screamed very loud, and it pumped me up. I was ready to run through a brick wall. So
that was a big outing for Gallen, or for Ginkel. I mean, he has just really struggled lately. Came in with pretty rough numbers in the month of September, and he needed an outing like that. Yeah. And obviously, it looked like things might go sideways there for him with the first 2 guys getting on board, but he was able to get out of it.
Justin Martinez comes in. He didn't have a clean inning, but once again, 1 inning pitch, 2 big strikeouts. He gave up 2 hits allowed. But AJ Puk is just filthy. And I mean, I don't know if Torrey is a madman, if he's a genius, if he just stumbled into something here. But the idea that you can bring AJ Puk in as a closer at times, but you don't necessarily know if you're going to get him, and that Torrey can kind of situationally decide when to bring Puk in late. And mostly I think that means, like, yes, obviously you have the matchup, but you might also just want to start bringing Puk in against the heart of the lineup, depending on when that might be, like the most formidable batters, because this guy is incredible. And I mean, I don't think he needs to just be matchup based, but I can understand using him in whatever scenario makes the most sense, and then perhaps bringing Justin Martinez in, vice versa for the other inning, or whatever the case may be. But I mean, the flexibility Torrey has here with how filthy J Mart and Puk, both of them are, is really good for this team. And again, you don't know what you're going to get as an opposing team there late in the game, which is also helpful to kind of keep opposing teams on their toes.
Yeah, AJ Puk is just on another level right now. Frankly, I can't remember a Diamondbacks relief pitcher going on this kind of a run. And it's not to say that we haven't. So far, AJ Puk, right, he's given up 1 earned run in 24 innings. I'm pretty sure that I could find a few other D-backs relievers over the years who have had a run like that. Sure. Not many. Sure. I'm pretty sure Scott McGough last season, as bizarre as it may be to think about in retrospect.
Turn off the lights.
Crazy.
Scott McGough had. I'd have to look.
Sexy Scott McGough time.
I'd have to look up the numbers, but Scott McGough had a similar stretch like this. Yeah. It was about 20 something innings with 1 earned run allowed, but Scott McGough didn't have 39 strikeouts in those. In this case, 24 innings of work. What you're seeing right now is not just a great reliever. It is one of the best relievers in all of baseball.
A 0.39 ERA with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
A 0.39 ERA.
And he's on my team.
He's on my team.
He's on my team.
All right, stop fighting, kids.
Okay, right.
His opponent OPS is 375, which is just outrageous. So yeah, and you're seeing the Diamondbacks start to use him in different ways. I believe this was his first save as a member of the Diamondbacks, if I'm not mistaken. I guess it's his second. I'd have to go back and see the exact scenario of the other one, but yeah, Torrey kind of reshuffled things, right? He went with Justin Martinez in the 7th inning to face the heart of the Brewers lineup, and then he went with AJ Puk in the 9th, and we saw what that looked like. It was really impressive.
It was really impressive, and I just think that again, there's an experience factor, but there's also, you got to go with the hot hand. Justin Martinez has been good, and he does have some great stuff, but he has not been doing what AJ Puk has been doing. And honestly, whenever J-Mart comes in, to his credit, he kind of walks a fine line. He lets some runners on, but he can always kind of get himself out of the jam.
It's been a lot of traffic lately,
but you just feel like that's going to go south for him eventually, and you just don't know if you want him in those high leverage situations, especially once the mother effing Yoffs come around. So let's go with AJ Puk there late. Is it okay that I say mother effing, or am I going to get
no? I think it is, okay? but you're walking a real thin line.
I'm trying. I'm gonna get as close to the sun as I possibly can. Of course, one guy right now that has been incredible for this team, as we discussed earlier, is Ketel Marte, and he, of course, is our king snake for tonight's game. Ketel was just a triple shy of the cycle, going 3 for 4, 1 home run, 2 RBI, 1 double. But the most sociopathic thing he did was, considering his numbers, considering how good he was offensively in this game and just has been all year, this man bunted for a single and beat it out. And he did it with no runners on. It wasn't a sack bunt at all. It was just a bunt for a hit, and it was incredible, and I love him for it. He's a real sicko when it comes to baseball.
Yeah, I think people may forget that was sort of like in Ketel Marte's bag when he first joined the Diamondbacks. I remember when back in his earlier days, he would lay down a bunt every now and then, and he was pretty darn good at it. I think I remember him laying one down in particular in the NLDS back in 2017. That was very, very impressive. So yeah, that's definitely a skill that he has. I think at this stage in his career. We talk about bunt club and how the D-backs before games sometimes have a group of hitters who will go out there and work on their bunting. Ketel is not part of that group because you're probably not going to have your MVP candidate second baseman lay down bunts all that often. But Ketel is the type of guy who has the green light to do something like that if he feels the spot warrants it. And he obviously did in that situation, and it worked out.
Oh, that's a good bet, Cam Demonium. There can't be good value on that. There's no way. There's insider trading when it comes to that information. The lovely Candace says, "Can we tell Jock to stop trying to steal bases too?" Yes, Jesse. I'm sick of seeing
that didn't go so well.
It was funny for a minute, and now it's not funny anymore. And I know with jokes that he comes back around like, it's funny again. It's not funny, Jock. Stop running on the bases. I'm kind of had it with that, but. At least the Diamondbacks are winning, and that's what's important. It's also important, I think, that they are doing stuff like bunting for singles and honestly sending Jock, just because of the fact that it does feel like this team is trying to continue to put the pressure on the opposing teams. And when they do that, it's working, even if the results aren't as desired in that situation with Jock getting caught on the base path.
Yeah, Jock, after that caught stealing, now in his career has 28 stolen bases and 27 caught stealings. So I think it's time for him to quit while he's up, right? He's got one more, I guess. So he is a pretty savvy base runner in general in terms of taking extra bases. That's actually something that I think is genuinely a skill for him. But yeah, in terms of trying to steal a base, maybe you should tap the brakes there a little bit.
Yeah, all the chat just wants me to get drunk and lose my job probably.
We do miss that, Derek.
Look, all I'm saying,
he was special.
The Yops are right around the corner, and I've been told I can't say certain words, but I haven't been told that I can't drink a whole bottle of champagne and take my shirt off. So just stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned.
I'm so grateful that I hopefully will not have to see that happen.
Oh, this guy will though. This guy's gonna be right next to me.
What you don't know, Jesse, doesn't hurt you. Me and Derek, we turn postseason post games into like a club. It's like a nightclub.
Yeah, and poor Patrick got wrapped up in all of our shenanigans.
Oh, Patrick loved it.
But he loved it every minute of it. Don't let him fool you. Of course, we love you guys for being here in the chat right now. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel, do so right now. Go do it right now. I'm going to wait. All right. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever our shows go live. And of course, hit that like button. We love it when you do. Hit the like button, not just for me, not just for this guy, not just for that guy. Hit it for Lourdes being back. Hit it for the Diamondbacks winning. And on a very important night when, of course, this team very much needed to do so. When we come back here on the other side, we will discuss, of course, the Arizona Diamondbacks winning this game. But first, let's talk about Empire Today. Because, of course, Empire Today is a flooring company that we all know, we all love. And you should know that if you are looking for new flooring in your home, you can trust to give you easy, quick, and convenient service, which is always important when it comes to us having repairs or improvements done to our home. They also have their virtual floor designer, which is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. All you have to do is snap a picture and, of course, go through the options of what you are looking for flooring and see how it looks in your home. Of course, Empire makes it easy with a curated selection based on what you're looking for, so you don't have to go through thousands of samples in order to find a flooring that meets your needs. Right now, you can schedule an in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 discount when you use promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for details. And of course, we are going to be out at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. No one does it better, and we can't think of a place to do our watch parties for the Suns and the Cardinals anywhere else better than Gila River Resorts and Casinos. We will be out there for all sorts of events, so stay tuned for information on that. And of course, you go check out what Gila River Resorts and Casinos has to offer. Visit any one of their 4 locations here in town, and you can not only plan yourself a staycation, but just go out for a wonderful night, checking out their 4,500 slots and live table games. Damon and I are a fan of roulette, so if you want to invite us on your trip, we will go and we will play. We will play, and we will hunker down on red all night long. We will not stray away from red, but of course, check out everything they have to offer with an unprecedented level of entertainment and excitement that you won't find anywhere else in the desert. We know they've set a high bar. So you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playathila.com for more details. All right, well, let's take a look at the count from this game presented by Desert Financial Credit Union. Diamondbacks got some, good offense in this one. Not much scoring with or runners scoring or hits with runners in scoring position, but the Diamondbacks outscore the Brewers 7-4. Both teams had 12 hits. 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position for the Diamondbacks. Brewers 0 for 7. Extra base hits. Diamondbacks had 4. Brewers had 3. All of theirs were home runs. Diamondbacks had those 2 dingers. And then expected batting average fairly close there, with the Brewers actually having the higher expected batting average at 260. The Diamondbacks at 236. This one was a closer game than it appeared to be there at times, and especially considering that the Brewers did all of their scoring in one bunch there against Zac Gallen in the 5th inning. It really did feel like that Diamondbacks did a great job of keeping them kind of off the base path outside of that.
Yeah, I mean, they made a lot of big pitches in this game. I mean, even in the first inning with Zac Gallen on the mound, the Brewers got the first 2 runners aboard, and you were like, all right, well, the 1-0 lead that the D-backs had at that point might evaporate really quickly, but Zac Gallen was able to work out of that inning and not allow a run. Again, it was not pretty. He wound up loading the bases. Yeah. But still, to be able to get out of a situation like that is huge. And it wasn't just Gallen in that inning. It was Justin Martinez, as you discussed earlier, in the 7th inning. Kevin Ginkel being able to get through his tough situation there in the 6th as well. So D-backs made some big pitches. Obviously, the 5th was not pretty for Gallen, giving up those 3 home runs, but the Diamondbacks offense was able to come back and pick him up.
They absolutely did that. And I think, again, this is the offense that we expect to see at times. It's the reason why we were frustrated watching them only score 2 runs in 2 of those games in Colorado, and why they were probably frustrated and only scoring 2 runs in those 2 games, right? This is the offense we come to know and love. And even on this night, it didn't really feel like the Diamondbacks really outplayed the Brewers by a significant amount. And I think the big key here was that when Zac Gallen went down, and only gave them 5 innings. The bullpen was able to keep this game scoreless the rest of the way, and that's so clutch for this team. The bullpen has been that at times. It's just at times. It just hasn't been that consistently. These are the guys, though, that we know Torey trusts. So it's like these are the 4 guys we expect to see in a lot of high leverage situations coming up here in about 10 days.
Well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
I shouldn't have said that.
It was a big day. It was a big day with the Mets and the Braves losing. We're not quite there to that point yet. But speaking on the bullpen, those 4 guys are like, these are the 4 guys that if the Diamondbacks do get to the postseason, they're going to be getting pretty much all of the important innings, right? It's Ryan Thompson, it's Kevin Ginkel, it's Justin Martinez, and AJ Puk. I am still very curious with, what is it, just a little bit over a week left in the regular season at this point. What does the remainder of the Diamondbacks bullpen look like? Is Gilbert Diaz on a Diamondbacks postseason roster? Yeah. Is Brandon Hughes on a Diamondbacks postseason roster? Is Scott McGuff on a Diamondbacks postseason roster? Mm-hmm. Blake Walston is also with the big league team right now. You know, with Paul Sewald going down with injury and with Dylan Floro being DFA'd after all of his struggles, you still need some low leverage guys to help you through, you know, some situations and try to keep you in some games, at least when you're maybe down by a few runs. So that's something I'm going to be keeping a close eye on here in this next week or so.
Well, of course, we know that I lie about a lot of things, not about being a good mayor. I'm a terrific mayor.
Yeah.
Come on, Damon, who got you?
I can attest to that.
Thank you.
Derek's a good mayor.
Yeah, thank you. But I do lie a lot, and I don't know if that's something that a mayor that's running for re-election should admit. But those numbers, they never lie. And Jesse, what do you got for tonight's number that doesn't lie?
Yeah, tonight's number is 5.5. This one is actually more on the negative side of things. This goes back to Zac Gallen. 5.5 represents the number of innings per start for Zac Gallen this season.
That feels right.
And I actually made a little adjustment here because one of his outings, he left pretty much immediately. He didn't get a single out. And so that game I threw out because that obviously messes up the calculation. I know there was another game that he left a little bit early as well, but not all that much earlier than maybe he would have otherwise. So yeah, I mean, that's the Diamondbacks ace, right? That's their number 1 starter who's been kind of like a 5 and dive pitcher this season. And that's not what you're looking for, right? Going into the postseason, you want a guy that you feel could get you into the 6th or 7th inning, at least in 1 or 2 postseason starts. We saw, I don't think Zac Gallen ever went 7 in any playoff game, but we did see Merrill Kelly pitch deep in some games at times. And that's huge. If you have the opportunity to give some of those high leverage relievers a rest or, just generally, like, you don't want to have to use all of your high leverage guys every single game in order to win. So getting a little bit more length out of your starters is important. And this, of course, comes after a season where Gallen threw 210 innings in 34 starts. And that's an average of 6.2 innings per start. So this is a pretty substantial difference from last year.
Well, luckily, the bullpen, I think, is better than last year.
I mean, I don't know where I stand on that. That's because Paul Sewald, you felt pretty good about in the closer role. Whereas this team, I mean, I guess if AJ Puk is the closer, if that's going to be his role, which I don't think is necessarily the case. This still felt like kind of a case by case. Still feels like sort of a case by case situation at the moment.
It's fine. Let's just leave it at that.
Ryan Thompson and Kevin Ginkel were in a pretty nice rhythm going into the playoffs last year. I think Ginkel maybe had a rough outing or 2 in September, but for the most part, those guys were really cruising. Andrew Saalfrank was also cruising at that point. I forgot about Saalfrank. So I don't know. I mean, I think on paper, like the talent level, maybe a little bit higher. AJ Puk, I think, is a better reliever than anyone the Diamondbacks had on this roster last year.
Justin Martinez is pretty damn good too.
Yeah, and Justin Martinez has really, really great stuff. So yeah, maybe it is a little bit better, but at the same time, that bullpen was so hot at the time. Like the Diamondbacks bullpen ERA in September last year, I think was in the low 2s, and throughout much of the postseason, it was a huge asset for them. So that hasn't really been the narrative this September. The Diamondbacks bullpen ERA this month is still right around 7, I believe. So that is a far cry from where it was last year at this time.
Well, I love you guys in the chat, of course. I know I try to tell you that as often as possible, but we're in a long-term relationship. Sometimes I don't tell you that every day or every week. I get it. I'm sorry. But I do love you guys because one of you gave me an amazing idea, which is that we can just go full good place on this show, and I can just say bullshit and motherforker, you know? And
you're getting really close, Derek.
I'm just saying, those are not words that I can't say.
Derek is a habitual line stepper for sure.
I am a habitual line stepper. That is very true. That is very true. Speaking of habitual line steppers, we got some super chats from BComC Clearly, who says,
"Let's toss this one to Jesse."
Let's go. Let's go ahead. Let's start the first one.
I mean, I'm happy to read the first one.
Yeah.
BComC Clearly says AJ Puck is the closer for now. J Mart is the future.
I don't hate that.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, next up, Jesse.
You want to go to the next one?
Yeah, I think this one's calling your name. Derek,
I knew you were going to cower out. He says, and you see how thick the backs are. Boom. They're just thick. He didn't even use 2 C's. He just means the offense.
That's right. It would have made me more uncomfortable if he used
2 C's,
3 or 4 C's.
Yeah. And then the last one is the Giants and Padres stand in our way. And I mean, they do. They do.
I mean,
I'm not
in the
worried
sense
about the
that
Giants.
they are the remaining opponents. Yeah.
Actually, who stands in their way is this Brewers team, because even though they've taken 2 out of 4, which is great, that's amazing, they still have 2 very important games against them, and it would be great at this point with to take this series. It's a 4-game series. Again, based on this matchup, it would be great to see them sweep the series. But I'm not going to get greedy. I would just like to see them take 1 out of these final 2 games, and then if they can go on to win the series against the Giants, they're going to be in a very good position as far as making the playoffs there, even with the Padres standing in their way in that final series of the year. But
and you have Merrill Kelly starting tomorrow, who has really looked good recently, right? Looked really good in that game against the Rockies, even though the game did not end in the Diamondbacks' favor. So Jordan Montgomery against Frankie Montas, that one maybe a little bit more dicey on the D-back side of things, but feel pretty good with Merrill Kelly on the mound tomorrow.
Breakout game. He's gonna shove.
Maybe it will. We'll see. Ryan Nelson, I think, could come back at some point here, but for the moment, that's Jordan Montgomery's spot.
Well, we will have updates on that here shortly, but we did want to talk about another guy who did shove, and that's Brandon Pfaadt, who absolutely shoved in Game 1 yesterday. We did our 1 p.m. show, so we didn't have a chance to talk about it post game. But what a night for Brandon Pfaadt! And as some people alluded to, yes, maybe the Brewers were still a little hungover. Not Jackson Chourio, though. He's not old enough to drink. But he was amazing. Brandon Pfaadt went out and gave the Diamondbacks 7 innings, which was just huge for him to go out and be one of these starters that gave them length. He allowed only 2 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, and struck out 12. And just an outstanding night. Some of the things he did, of course, some pretty great names to be in the same company as.
Yeah. 7 consecutive strikeouts is pretty bonkers thing. That hasn't happened since 2001 when a couple of guys named Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling did it. Randy, I believe, did it 3 times and Curt Schilling did it once, all within 2001, which, side note, is outrageous that Randy Johnson in 1 season had 3 separate spans of 7 consecutive strikeouts. But amazing. Yeah, it was.
But his name, not to cut you off, but his name is coming up quite a bit in conversations where you find out that Brandon Pfaadt did something that only Curt Schilling, Randy Johnson, and maybe Brandon Webb did. As members of this franchise.
Yeah, the other sort of piece of history for the Diamondbacks in the last couple of days, Eduardo Rodriguez, of course, with all those strikeouts in his start on Wednesday, he had 11. Brandon Pfaadt had 12. Only. What is this? 3, 4, 5. That was the 7th time in franchise history that the Diamondbacks have had pitchers have 11 or more strikeouts in back-to-back games. The last time it happened was just a season ago, actually, with Zac Gallen and Merrill Kelly, who did it in 2023. Before that, Patrick Corbin and Robbie Ray did it in 2018. And then you have to go back 15 years before that for the next time it happened. Randy Johnson and Brandon Webb, who I sometimes forget were in the same rotation. In 2003, they did it. And then in 2002, Johnson and Schilling did it twice. And then Omar Dahl and Randy Johnson did it as well in 1999. Yeah, that's a name you don't hear too much these days. But it was, I mean, Diamondback starting pitching has obviously had a very rough season overall, but to see Erod and Pfaadt do that on back-to-back days, it wasn't just that they were good, it is that they were dominant. They were far and away as good as we've seen either of those guys this season, and it was very encouraging for sure.
Well, I have a very funny update for you, Jesse.
Yes.
Lennon Sosa for the White Sox just homered in the top of the ninth, and the Padres blew the save. It's a tied game now at 2-2, and the White Sox could come back to beat the Padres now.
See, I knew that when you started in the White Sox Padres direction, that the best thing that you were going to say about the White Sox was that they tied the game. I knew that
there was no way they would.
There was no way that they had actually won the game, and I still do not expect them to win the game.
No, they won't.
But
absolutely.
good on the White Sox for
causing a blown save and making the Padres feel bad about themselves.
Did Tanner Scott blow the save?
I have that up in here.
Because honestly,
Scott did, no, Robert Suarez.
Okay.
Robert Suarez blew the save. Tanner Scott was in before that.
Okay. I mean, getting any member of that Padres bullpen to mess up in any way is an accomplishment in its own right, because it is an outrageously talented bullpen. But yes, the Padres are about to win that game. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now. So,
well, on the other side of our break, we will have more for you on the current status of the Arizona Diamondbacks and the wild card race. But first, we got to tell you to come join us at Chicken and Pickle. Of course, you can sign up for our Cardinals tailgates at Chicken and Pickle. I will be there all the time because it's kind of close to my house, but also because I love the Arizona Cardinals foolishly more than I ever should. I'm completely devoted to that football team.
This year is special, Derek. Do you feel special.
It? Oh, I don't even get me started.
Jesse, you can feel it.
But here's the thing: you can sign up for those tailgates for free, and you can come join us for free. But if you do RSVP, you will be entered to win an Arizona Cardinals jersey, which I had some say in which one we got, because I was like, you got to get the right one. So.
Are you allowed to say whose jersey
I'm not allowed to say. It's a surprise. But
okay.
You can find out by joining us at Chicken and Pickle, which is a great place to go even when we're not having our tailgates. It is an indoor-outdoor entertainment complex that is insanely big, amazing. They have indoor and outdoor pickleball courts. They have all sorts of other fun to be had. They have, of course, like cornhole. They have giant battleship, and they have giant, they do have ping pong. And if you want to catch these hands in ping pong, just make an appointment with the wizard over here. But, of course, you can also have your events over at Chicken and Pickle and so much more. So, of course, check out chickenandpickle.com to see all the fun you can have at their Glendale location. Also, check out our friends at Branded Bills from right here in town. It's a local company from Mesa, Arizona. They make some wonderful hats, including these bad boys we got hanging up back here. But they can make you some wonderful hats for your company. Of course, if you're looking just to shop, they have some amazing Arizona hats, and right now they have some very, very cool Halloween hats that you can get down on. I think most of them glow in the dark, and they are. If you're like me, I have a shirt and a hat for every occasion. Jesse can attest to this. It's actually quite disgusting the amount of like clothing I have for particular things, like outings that we do. I'm like the guy that, like, if we go on like to the zoo, I show up dressed like a safari and all that. So you could be
100% you are.
Right. So, like, of course, make sure you get your hat for the right occasion from our friend at Branded Bills. Right now, you can head to brandedbills.com and use code PHNX for 20% off your first order. All right. Well, let's take a look, of course, at our MLB standings to see where the Arizona Diamondbacks are at after winning tonight. We had some very big losses that definitely helped the Arizona Diamondbacks out here, including the Mets getting absolutely mollywopped by the Phillies tonight, and the Braves losing to the Marlins. We maybe thought things were going to go differently this week. The Diamondbacks have taken 2 in a row from the Brewers. The Braves just lost to the Marlins, and the Mets got absolutely waxed by the Phillies.
I mean, the Braves really needed to sweep that series, right? For them to even just take 2 out of 3, if they are able to do that the next couple of days, is still just not really the outcome that they needed given their remaining schedule. Right, they've got a 3-game series with the Mets coming up. So yeah, that's a really tough blow for them. The Diamondbacks entered today with playoff odds over at Fangraphs, I think around 75, 77%, something in the mid to upper 70s, and now they're at about 92% after them winning, and then of course both the Mets and the Braves losing. And the Braves playoff odds over at Fangraphs are now down to 40% as a result of everything today. So this was a huge day for the Diamondbacks in the standings. This was absolutely enormous.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at what the playoff picture would look like if the season ended today, shall we?
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Here we would start out against the Milwaukee Brewers, who...
Well, I think with today's outcome, I think the Brewers and the Mets...
That's true.
Flip-flop.
We would be playing the San Diego Padres.
Sorry, I didn't speak correctly. But yes, the Diamondbacks would swap with the Mets, is what I'm trying to say. So the Diamondbacks would be down there in the 5 slot playing the Padres. And then, the Mets would be up in the 6 slot.
Well, either road doesn't look great. But again, with the Diamondbacks possibly being in the final wild card spot before the end of the season, I don't know. I mean, after playing this Brewers team, like you play 3 games at home, you don't like that so much. You think maybe this is not the team you want to match up with. Now you play them 2 on the road, which is where you will be playing them if that playoff matchup happens.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel a little bit better. I don't know why, but it's something about the Diamondbacks playing the Brewers in big games in Milwaukee. They seem to do all right.
Yeah, and the Brewers have some history of, we talked before their first series against the Brewers last weekend about how the Brewers are just good every single season, and they made the playoffs in 5 of the last 6 seasons. And then you look at the results that they've had in those postseason series, and it's not great, right? There's some history with Milwaukee struggling and in the postseason, having some early exits. So, yeah, at this point, the Diamondbacks' most likely playoff opponents are the San Diego Padres and the Milwaukee Brewers, both on the road, right? Yeah. We talked about it yesterday with the Padres having this series against the White Sox this weekend, which again, you can still pencil in a win for tonight because I refuse to believe that the White Sox.
Oh yeah, the first 2 batters in the bottom of the 9th got on base.
Okay, there it is. Yeah, so, it's already happening. No. So the Padres are probably going to sweep the White Sox this weekend, and at that point, they're already going to be at 90 wins, even with the D-backs winning, having a nice little win streak here. It's going to be really hard for them to catch San Diego, barring maybe a sweep in that series at the end of the year, which of course is possible. But yeah, I still think the most likely outcomes on paper are you get the second wild card spot, in which case you're playing the Padres on the road, or you get the third wild card spot, in which case it looks pretty likely that you're playing the Brewers on the road. The Brewers had a shot for a while to catch the Dodgers or the Phillies and get one of those bye spots, and they still do have a shot. But those odds are not looking very good for them right now after losing these last couple of games. So I guess the big question then, Derek, is if you have to choose between facing the Padres on the road or the Brewers on the road in a potential wild card round, who do you want?
I feel like we've asked this question a lot, and I think I still want the Brewers. I think I still feel like the Brewers would have that pressure because of last year. I thought maybe what we saw there at Chase Field was a little indication that the Brewers were kind of stepping up and, getting a little bit of revenge, not to mention the fact that these are important games for them, right? But right now I feel like it's a bit more even, and I think the Diamondbacks are more of this team that we've seen in Milwaukee versus that very weird series that they lost 2 out of 3 at Chase Field. But I think it's also because I don't want to go to San Diego. That's just an insane environment versus I don't fear the environment from the Brewers as much.
Sure.
Right? So there's just a lot of things there that I like more. I also think that honestly, the Diamondbacks match up better with the Milwaukee Brewers than they do the San Diego Padres. The Padres are just, they have this team. They're like the Phillies in a way, right? Like where they just have this team of guys that are kind of an all-star team still and can go off anytime. They can also be easily sedated at times in series where you look around and their best hitters went 0 for 4, and that's not really happening a lot lately. That team has been on a roll.
Yeah.
You're getting some of your best offense from your rookie, there with Jackson Merrill.
Yeah, and he's been so outstanding. I mean, for me, like, obviously either of these 2 teams could beat the Diamondbacks in a 3-game series, right? Especially with those teams hosting. So it's not to say either of these is an easy matchup by any means, but I would want the Brewers every day of the week, twice on Sunday, the whole thing. I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, I look at the lineups between these two teams. I think the Padres have the better lineup with Fernando Tatis back in there, with Jackson Merrill doing what he's doing, Manny Machado, Jurickson Profar. There's just more weapons there than Milwaukee. Not to say the Brewers haven't taken some strides forward offensively, but Jackson Chourio, William Contreras, outside of those two guys, I just don't really see a ton of weapons for Milwaukee offensively, at least not the same caliber of weapons that I see in San Diego. I think their lineup is just better top to bottom. And then I look at the rotations, and with San Diego, you're thinking about Dylan Cease as a game one starter. And in Milwaukee, you're thinking about Freddie Peralta. And I think that's pretty clear for me as well. And probably even all the more clear when you think about the starters behind those number one guys, right? In Milwaukee, there's Tobias Myers, there's Colin Ray, who we saw today, there's Frankie Montas, there's Aaron Savali. San Diego has Yu Darvish, right? Who's healthy now and looks better. They have Joe Musgrove, who's looked pretty darn good lately as well. So I think the starting rotation with San Diego is better. And then you finish up with the bullpen. And yes, piece of Yoshi's right. I should have mentioned Willy Adames. I still think the Padres lineup is better, but you're right. Willy Adames has had a great season as well. But yeah, then I go to the bullpen, which is the thing the Brewers are legitimately great at. But after the Padres made the moves that they did at the deadline, and they added Tanner Scott and they added Jason Adam, I still think the Padres bullpen is probably better in my mind right now. So I think the Padres are better, frankly, in all facets of the game. If I'm the Diamondbacks, I want to fall back to the third wild card spot and play the Brewers in the first round.
I don't hate that idea at all. Hall D-back says San Diego way more dangerous. I really wish that was the real Derek Hall, just in here screaming in all caps about which team was more dangerous.
Who's to say it's not?
I'm just going to pretend in my head like it is one way or another. But Damon, let's put that magic number up on the screen. What do we got for a magic number tonight? Sorry, I didn't know. Magic number. Diamondbacks are very, very close to controlling their destiny here. And of course, there's our magic number.
Ta-da! There it is.
Didn't take it all a second. 6 is big there as the Diamondbacks look to, of course, try to sweep this series with the Brewers. Obviously, that makes it that much more important that they could solidify. That is for at least the final spot in the playoffs. So getting closer. 5 would be their magic number, but that would actually tie them with the Braves if the Braves did win out. And of course, the Braves do hold that tiebreaker over the Diamondbacks, just like the Mets do.
Yeah, this is the magic number specifically with Atlanta. So by saying the magic number is 6, we mean that if the sum of Diamondbacks wins and Braves losses equals 6, there's the former math teacher and me coming out.
I can't stand the way you're phrasing this.
Then the Diamondbacks would automatically make the postseason at that point. So if they just get 6 more wins, I mean, they can do this by themselves. Even if Atlanta does win out, the Diamondbacks could win 6 more games between now and the end of the season, and that would do it. So that would require them to go 6-2, which is not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. But more importantly, it involves the Braves winning some very, very tough games that they still have left on their schedule, and they are losing to the Marlins like they did today. The Marlins are the least of their concerns, considering that they still have games left against the Mets, and I believe they closed their season out against the Royals.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Mets got whipped by the Phillies, and they still have 2 more games because they're playing a 4-game set with the Phillies, and they play the Braves. And I think they finished their season out against this Brewers team, which is no easy cakewalk at all. So again, it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be fun to watch over the next week, but it's also going to induce a lot of anxiety in D-back Nation. So make sure to plan accordingly. Of course, let's take a look at some of those super chats here really quickly. What do we got here? Mr. Bananas, our guy Steven Bananas says, I think we figured it out, Derek. We just need the D-backs to play the Brewers on the road and not at home in the playoffs. Bingo. We got it. Thank you for your super chat.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you're happy that the series would happen in Milwaukee.
Yeah, Tori keeps talking about wanting a home series against San Diego. Let's chill, Tori. We want a road series against the Brewers after what we saw tonight.
You should definitely be throwing those games against the Padres as best you can.
Yeah,
for
you're
sure.
not wrong. And then B. Comsey clearly says the White Sox are finna win. I don't know about. I'm not so confident in that.
They did get out of that.
They did get out of that. Yeah, right. We're in the top of the 9th right now. So
top of the 10th.
Or top of the 10th. Excuse me. I apologize.
Yeah, Brian Ramos is starting at second base. You've got Corey Lee, Diamondbacks legend Dominic Fletcher, and Nicky Lopez due up for
Dominic
the White Sox.
If Dominic Fletcher does it for us, it's going to be, I'm going to lose my mind.
Nothing means more than family. We just
got to stay on the air for Dominic Fletcher's at bat. That's what we got to do. Ina Jackson is leaving us early. She says, got to go, guys. It's Friday. What do you have to do better than to hang out with us here, Ina? Well, bark, back at you, and we'll see you tomorrow night. No, we won't. Tomorrow's Saturday. We take Saturdays off around here. But we aren't once the playoffs start. So, of course, should the Diamondbacks make the playoffs, we will be here every game, every night. Saturday, Sunday, it doesn't matter. If the Diamondbacks are playing baseball, we will have you covered, not only with a post-game show, but a pre-game show as well. So make sure to join us for that. We do have some injury updates before we go, by the way. Diamondbacks are close to 100%. We still have Ryan Nelson on the IL as well as Paul Sewald. Jesse, what do you have for us in regards to where those guys are at?
Yeah, according to Nick Picoro, who is out in Milwaukee, Ryan Nelson will throw a bullpen session tomorrow, which is a very good sign for him. It still sounds like Ryan Nelson could come back for the Diamondbacks before the end of the regular season, setting him up to maybe make a postseason start as well. So that is still in play. And then it also appears that Paul Sewald could return for the Diamondbacks before the end of the regular season. Nick tweeted out earlier that Sewald will also throw off a mound in the coming days, and that he played catch on Friday.
What was that sound over there, Damon? Dog?
We're good.
No,
we're good.
Yeah.
I will say,
I appreciate you, Paul.
I will reiterate what I said earlier, and that the Diamondbacks, their low leverage relief situation right now is a little bit. It's not really settled. It's pretty unclear what that's going to look like. So no matter how you feel about Paul Sewald, how much you trust him in, a closing situation, you still, I think the Diamondbacks are better set up in the postseason if Paul Sewald is on this team. It's not like he had a 7 ERA in the regular season. Yeah. I think people overblow, he had a terrible month, and it's not like he's been great since then, but you're still looking at a guy who has an ERA, if I can find this real quick, who has an ERA this season of 4.31. So again, it's not good, but right now your low leverage bullpen options are guys who barely pitched in the majors in a lot of cases with Walston and with Diaz. And then Scott McGuff has obviously struggled quite a bit this season. So I still think this team is better with Sewald than without him.
Fletcher blew it.
Did he?
It just reached on a fielder's choice, but the ghost runner got out Brian Ramos got out trying to reach home. All right.
Well, that's on Brian. That's on Brian Ramos.
Okay, yeah, we're going to hang that one on Brian.
Yeah, Dominic Fletcher can do no wrong, Derek.
He's the greatest Italian baseball player to ever live, if I'm not mistaken.
He had a remarkable run for the Diamondbacks when he first came up.
He really did.
Dominic Fletcher single-handedly won some very important games for the Diamondbacks last season. So let's not forget about that.
Well, the guy that did it for them tonight, I guess you could say, is Ketel Marte. He did it a lot, but this was a team effort, and this was a good win, of course. The Diamondbacks have put a couple of those together now, and hopefully they can stay hot as the end of the season approaches. I can't say anything else. I feel like anything else is a curse at that point, but they just need to stay hot. Every game is important at this point, as you guys know. So, of course, we'll be back on Monday. I think we're doing a post-game show on Monday with the importance of all of these games. So make sure to join us for that. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Cap_Caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, Damon Dog is at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. We are Damon's Dogs. Bark. Our show is at PHNX_DBacks, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you stopping by. We will see you on Monday. And until then, have a wonderful weekend. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun when your team is whole.
We all silly like the mayor.